What's big, white, blue, and turns into packing peanuts when you slam it into a tree?
Yikes.
The Freewing Zeus, of course. Hey there, I'm John. This is Two Brothers RC, and this is the Freewing Zeus 90mm. It's been a long time since we've flown a sport jet on the channel, and I really missed it. After all, a sport jet is the channel logo. Fighter jets are fun, but sport jets are a completely different experience. I'll get into why I crashed this jet, and I'll help you understand how to not make the same mistake that I did. But first, let's go over the review criteria. Today I'll be covering Zeus's landing gear, flight time, agility, fit and finish, and avionics and lighting. As a sport jet, Zeus was designed to fly, first and foremost, really well. How it looks is a secondary consideration. Do you know how every 3D plane basically looks the same, but 3D pilots will be like, "Bro, this plane that looks just like that other one flies totally different. Trust me, bro. They look the same, but they're not, bro." Zeus is just like that. It flies reminiscent of other sport jets, but it has a feel that's unique to it. Being a sport jet, it was designed to carve clean lines and do precision rolls. Not so much tumbles and high alpha, but I find ways to make it happen. In a channel first, we will be reviewing how the jet flies on both power options, 6 and 8 cells. motionrc sent both variants to us to fly, so this video will cover what to expect when flying both of them, so that you can make an informed decision on what system is best for you. In terms of pros and cons between the two, the 8-cell setup is faster and it has immediate punch when you throttle up. This allows you to fly longer with less throttle than what you would need on the 6-cell setup. It's more efficient and flight times can be similar if you're managing throttle effectively. All of these amazing benefits come at the cost of a not insignificant weight penalty. It's a heavier airplane on 8 cells and it's harder to recover from stalls. It's also easier to get into a stall in the first place because the wings will stall at a higher airspeed at the same critical angle of attack with more weight. Compared to the current 6-cell system in all Freewing jets, the 6-cell system is very powerful and light. It allows for dramatic tumbles and other post-stall maneuvers that look sick as hell. And you'll have an easier time finding the correct center of gravity without the additional weight of a second battery up front. However, it's not as efficient as the 8-cell system, and it takes more throttle management to get the same flight time as an 8-cell setup. It also doesn't have the same thrust-to-weight ratio that you'd get from the additional pack. I personally prefer the 6-cell setup, but I spend most of my flying in this video on 8 cells. And I have to admit that I do appreciate it for what it is, and I do understand why people pick it. But when it comes to pure throw this jet around power, nothing beats the lighter weight of the 6-cell setup for me.
That is one of the best looking flat spins I've ever seen a sport jet do.
Freewing has really stepped up their 6-cell power systems and they don't feel so different in thrust. It's mostly where you'll spend most of your time on the throttle stick. 8-cell flying requires that the stick be held around the center point. 6-cell flying requires 75% or more to get a similar level of thrust that you're getting with the 8-cell system.
So I had a pretty good couple of test flights to make sure that this plane was going to work and not crash into a fiery fireball of shame. Went ahead and have done a couple of LiPo tests, 5,000 packs, including the two new LiPos that Danny sent over, the 5,000 class green ones that everybody seems to be ranting and raving about and thinking the purple ones are bad, but I haven't had any problems with the purple ones and I'm still flying these and they are awesome, and we're about to take it up on a 5900 pack because I cannot wait to see how much ass this thing's going to tear.
This is the 6-cell system still. As you can see, you have more than enough thrust to weight to do pretty much whatever you want to do. And when you're doing strong pitch downs like that, going very fast, I do recommend that you spend a little bit of time pulling out. If you pull out too fast, bad things happen. Crankshafted a sport jet. Never thought that coming. Zeus surprises me. Oh God, the Zeus is loose. Oh, wow, wow! That thing pinwheels around its nose. You saw that? I do have to say that I prefer the 6-cell setup because Motion did send both of them, and which I feel actually lands a little bit better. Although one of the landings I had last night you would have not believed that it was an 8-cell jet because it just came in and floated all the way down. So it seems to handle the higher wing loading pretty well. Nothing that I saw was any problem.
So Motion was gracious enough to send us the 8-cell variant and the 6-cell. Well, we got the 6-cell stuff out of the way, so now we're going to fly dual 4-cell configuration with SMC high voltage batteries to get ourselves an 8-cell pack. It's 4,400 milliamps here.
We'll test the CG here, figure out where it needs to be.
All right.
Perfect. Balancing right behind the mark like we were originally. Whoa, that's got some power. You had unlimited vertical before, but now you have even more. It doesn't even feel that different on the wings either. Although it does feel a little different when you do some of those post-stall maneuvers like that, where it didn't have the ability to exit through it as well as I was hoping it would. Not as bad though. It's kind of what you get when you fly an 8-cell setup. You know, you trade some maneuverability for a bit more speed. Handles really well in the middle of the stick. That's pretty much all you need from it. You get, I'd imagine, really good flight times from just keeping it in the center of the stick too, because you get plenty of power, but it's not overbearing at all. We have 28 volts. We are at 5 minutes and 30 seconds on 8 cells. Not really flying it any less aggressive than I was on 6 cells, really. Very efficient power system. I can see why some people do this. What I don't like about 8 cells, aside from the wing load, is having to charge twice the number of batteries to bring it out. It is more to charge, more weight in the wings, but it does fly longer for sure if you're watching your throttle settings. I'd say Zeus pretty much hits all my sport jet tick boxes. It does sport jet stuff pretty well. I mean, you can tell it's a sport jet by the way that it is.
Quite sporty.
Yeah, very sporty, very jet. It's capable of a lot of nice tumbles and stuff that you wouldn't expect sport jets to do unless you've watched my channel, in which case you've seen that sport jets do indeed tumble and do other things of that nature. Does really good knife edges, insanely good knife edges even. The way it tracks through the sky is not too different from an arrow. It pretty much just does whatever you tell it to do. I do recommend running AS3X Plus in it. Use relative gains, do not use fixed gains. Always have them on a switch so you can adjust them yourself. I'm not sure if I recommend the 8-cell setup over the 6. I would say the pros and cons of both are that the 6-cell setup is floatier, it's lighter, it is easier to throw around, it is much more tumbly. Like, you can tumble this one too, for sure. But it's just easier to do with the 6-cell setup, and it also feels like it doesn't slide through the air as much, which I prefer, because it kind of tracks a little bit better. There's extra wing loading incurred when you're flying on an 8-cell setup for sure. If you like the additional thrust and you like staying in the center of the throttle more, 8 cells is definitely for you. However, there is a cost with it. You do have to charge twice the batteries every time you want to come out, unless you get one of those awesome new SMC high voltage 8-cell packs. But you got to find a charger that can charge an 8-cell pack with an 8-cell balance lead, which I do not have. So I'm using a pair of 3600 SMC 4-cell packs at the moment, and getting pretty close to needing to bring it in. But getting 4 minutes of flight easily so far. If I was babying it a bit more, I could easily get 6 like I did last night. Again, it is very sport jetty. The rudder authority is absolutely insane.
If you've watched Two Brothers before, you're probably wondering right now, does it high alpha? Yes, but actually no. I had Zeus set up with the same mix and setup as the Viper 90, which is dynamic crow dropped when elevator is pulled, but I couldn't get it to behave.
That's it trying to go into high alpha. It needs to be nose heavier. That is the dumbest looking high alpha I've ever seen. It's just constantly stalling is why it's doing that.
Yeah.
Viper doesn't tumble as well as Zeus does, and Zeus doesn't high alpha as well as Viper does. Every jet has something that it does well, though neither jet was designed with that kind of flying in mind. It's a wonder that either of them do it so well. I promised I would explain why I crashed Zeus, and this may help you save your jet too. I've been practicing trying to stay in the same orientation that I put the jet into after a tumble. That way my flying looks coherent and more like a routine instead of like I'm setting up to do one maneuver at a time. What I should have done here was roll upright and throttle up instead of half-ass throttling up while staying inverted. The jet kept stalling over and over and I thought I could save it.
Yikes.
I couldn't. If you get into a situation like this, a little advice from me. It is okay to have a little bit of anxiety. I had 0. So I kept thinking that I had time to recover, up until I didn't, and it slammed into a tree. Anxiety is normal. Don't get so dead to it that you make stupid decisions like I did. I often talk about how you shouldn't let anxiety rule you. Fear is the mind killer, after all. But you shouldn't have no fear either. Anxiety lets you know when you're in a potentially dangerous situation. If something feels weird, roll out of it, throttle up, and try it again. Save the plane instead of trying to look cool.
I do love the snap rolls that it does. Those are really good. Holy crap, dude. Really good stuff with the snap rolls for sure. Agility-wise, this jet is definitely a 5 out of 5 from what I can see.
With the ease of flying that you're seeing me perform here, stupidity from crashing notwithstanding, you can clearly see why the Freewing Zeus earns a 5 out of 5 in the agility section. On both 6 and 8 cell setups, I was able to get over 5 minutes of flight. The absolute high point you can reasonably expect on the 8 cell setup is 6 minutes and 30 seconds with a pair of SMC 4400 high voltage packs, and you risk hitting low voltage cutoff doing that. On 6 cells, the most I would recommend shooting for is about 5 minutes and 30 seconds with SMC 5900 high voltage batteries. Definitely run voltage telemetry so you know what your pack power is at all times. Zeus gets a very rare and very uncommon 5 out of 5 in flight times.
Very, very, very well behaved jet for landings.
The landing gear on Zeus is pretty robust. This is absolutely a grass-capable jet with 0 cheater holes on the belly or really anywhere to get clogged with grass or debris as you attempt to take off. I wish more EDF jets were designed this way. The aspect of model aircraft that I'm always looking for is a better set of wheels that absorb shock and aren't rock hard. Zeus unfortunately fails in this regard, but it's perfect in every other way that matters. Now, landing this jet is super easy too, and here's how you do it.
Key to landing any sport jet really is just to have a flat approach like this. Have about 30% throttle feeding in, and as you get low to the ground, you're ready to kiss it. Pull the stick gently, throttle all the way back, pull the elevator ever so slightly, and you just float right on in. Offer invalid. If the wings are not level, you may stall one of them.
I'm almost tempted to swap out one of the review criteria from gear requires low maintenance to can turn on my taxiway without having to do the walk of shame. Fortunately, it's a simple mod to make Zeus or any other Freewing jet turn tighter so that you can get your daily step tracking through something else, like dedicated exercise.
Oops.
And it was just getting kind of rough, so I decided one of the mods that I would do to make the plane even better would be to use a standard Freewing servo arm. If any of you guys who bought Freewing jets before probably have some of these laying around, with a push rod stopper, which is this thing right here where my finger's pointing. Allows you to get max trap. It's about twice as long as the stock servo arm, so it allows me to turn the jet so that you can actually clear this runway without overrunning it on the sides. So we don't get any more runway excursions, which aren't great. Look at the turn radius now. Turns within 12 feet, which is freaking awesome.
Even less.
I wish I could turn a little tighter than this, but I'm not going to complain that I was able to mod it to do what I wanted it to do.
Fit and finish quality is typical Freewing. Excellent, in other words. No paint issues, no foam issues, no crappy foam hinges, no stickers, just well-placed decals. Even if you don't like the paint job and decal work, you gotta appreciate that it's leagues ahead of similar FMS offerings, which makes me all the more sad that FMS doesn't step up the Freewing's level. When you buy a Freewing jet, you know you're getting quality. Even better, they made some huge improvements to how the planes assemble at the field.
Two is making it very easy to attach the wings to the airframe without having to bring screws or losing them in the grass. And let me tell you, I've lost a couple of screws in this grass, and there's no way you're gonna find it ever again. It's gone. Once it gets into this grass, it is gone forever. But those days are kind of gone as a series connector. So the days of losing screws in the grass are pretty much gone, because all you have to do is, once you get the wings put in, just push those in, push that in, that, and that. Just like the J10, does not come off, very easy, much less crap to forget at the field, or in my case, losing the grass.
Yet again, in typical Freewing fashion, avionics and lighting is not skimped on. Older Freewing servos used to be grindy and imprecise. These new ones are slightly faster, a little more torquey, if that's even a word, more precise, and they don't sound like they're falling apart. The ESC is the new 120 amp that replaced the old 130 amp that used to have a humongous capacitor bank with a separate BEC lead to power the plane. Now it's a much lighter system with less complexity, and it can power both 6-cell and 8-cell airframes, and it has absolutely no overheating issues either. When I flew Zeus, I brought both motors out with me and swapped them out at the field. It was super simple. And it let me get a true in-depth look at this jet for you. The lighting is fantastic and very bright, with an awesome battery bay that allows you to get any balance point that you'll reasonably want out of a sport jet. Overall, the Freewing Zeus earns a 24 out of 25. If Motion can get Freewing to start using squishier wheels, this jet would have been a perfect 25. Simply outstanding. If you like what you're seeing, hop over to motionrc via the link in the description below to pick up your own Zeus and support us here at Two Brothers at no additional cost to yourself. I'm very thankful to Motion for choosing to work with us, and it's been amazing to be able to bring Freewing planes out to you guys to showcase what they're truly capable of. If you've got any questions about Zeus, or you want to learn more about how to set it up correctly, hop on the Two Brothers Discord server via bit.ly/tvrcdiscord, or via the link in the description below, to come chat with us directly and interact with our awesome and friendly community. See you guys again next week with a look at the Freewing Gripen on the new AS3X Plus system, along with a preview of what to expect from the upcoming deep dive into AS3X Plus and detailed guide into how to get the most out of the new 20 channels that your Spektrum radio now has.